Do you want to win in Sorare's new MLS competition? Stay tuned. Hey guys, what is up and welcome. Today we're going to be looking at the new Sorare MLS competition. We're going to be looking at the new structure, the new rewards. There's two ways that you can earn money now, and I'm looking forward to it. Anything I do say in this video, guys, take it with a pinch of salt. It's not financial advice. And just to add to that, I'm a champion Sorare player. I follow champion football. This is my first season in MLS, but let's get into it. So to start off with, guys, I'm going to take you through the way that I've decided on the players that I'm going to be picking up in the next couple of weeks to take on the rare in-season MLS competition. But the first thing I wanted to look at was to assume a budget. And the best way to do that is to look at the two ways that you can earn money. The first way is the main prize pool, where you're only allowed 4 in-season cards for limited and I believe rare. You only require 4 in-season limited cards and rare. And we're also going to look at hot streaks, where you do require 5 in-season cards for both. Moving swiftly into the limited in-season prize pool, you can see compared to the other competitions like Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga and Champion, it is a lot less. Usually I think there's correct me if I'm wrong, like around $1,000 to $1,500 up top. Whereas in Division 1, there's only $600 for coming first in limited. And you really need to factor that in, because looking at the price points at the moment, it really makes you think if it is worthwhile at the moment. And then looking at rare, Division 1 we're going to focus on again, $1,000 for coming first, all the way down to 40th, which is $20. And then you also have the new XP from 30% to 50% if you're in that region. And then from 30% to 41st, you get 5 rare essence. We then have the new addition of hot streaks. A lot of people love this. I'm a big fan of it myself. It's something different, something exciting, and it's another way to earn more rewards. Looking at the left side for limited, as you can see, there is 5 tiers. So each week, you can enter the competition, and if you manage to hit 380 in your first week, then you will be rewarded with $3. And then when after you hit 390 points, you'll get 5. 400, you get 10. 420, you get 25 plus $25 market credit. And then if you manage to hit 450 points, you can get $100 if you can continue with your hot streak. I do want to say, if you don't enter a lineup in a game week, you will be dropped down to the start. And likewise, if you make it to the top of the leaderboard, it doesn't stop there. You'll get resetted back down to the start, where you can try and work your way up the ladder again. Looking at the rare awards, this looks really good to me. So 420 points, you get $10. 420 points isn't too much. If you think about it, in rare now, you get an extra 10%. So that's 1.1% you're starting on. And then you also get 5% for the in-season cards you have to use, which is 1.15. If you actually calculate it, it's not that many points that you need to get that $10. And likewise, moving up to 500, obviously that is a lot harder, but the reward is $400, which is quite a lot of money. And with the budget that I'm aiming at, I think that's pretty worthwhile, especially when each week you can enter 3 teams to try and hit one of these thresholds. I do have to add that obviously you can't pick up all of the ladders at once. It's not if you hit 450 points, you get the first one. If you hit 380 in the first week, you hit that first reward, and then you move up the ladder, and you kind of keep progressing that way until, either you get to the top, or unfortunately you might get stuck at a certain level if your gallery isn't good enough. So after looking at the rewards pool and looking at the hot streaks, the budget that I would recommend for limited was originally going to be from around $100 to $150. And then for rare, my price point would be around $250 to $300. However, looking at the prices which we're going to go and look at in the moment, this does seem like it's not very manageable, and it's going to be quite hard to pick these up, especially early in the early weeks with the special promo that Sorare have going on. These price points are not that manageable, so you have to kind of weigh up. Do you think you can hit these hot streaks and get good places in the rewards to actually make it worthwhile for your investment and the cards that you enjoy using? Something that I really love, which I hope Sorare implement for the champion season, is the division battle. So this division battle, in the first game week, to decide which division your teams will be going in, you will enter. And if you're in let's scroll down here, if you're in the top 25%, you'll go straight into Division 1. Top 25 to 75%, you'll be in Division 2, and then outside the 75%, you'll be in Division 3. I assume this is for all 3 teams, so you'll need each 3 team to finish in the top 25% if you want 3 Division 1 teams. I can't imagine many people are going to do that because there's always discrepancies. There's 30 teams in the MLS, and there's a lot of players that can perform, which makes it very hard to actually have 3 solid teams, especially in the first game week when no one knows really who's going to be starting in those teams after the transfers and the players that have gone out. So looking at the cards, you and me have both seen the prices have been absolutely insane on day one, but you need to factor in a couple of things. First of all, people love to buy 101s, and for that reason, Messi is currently $250 on instant buy, but yesterday he managed to sell for £408, which is just absolutely ridiculous. But if we go back over there, you can see the price is starting to come down already. I mean, it's already half the price. £200 for a Messi makes it seem a lot more manageable. And also, these cards are going to come down over the next couple of days. In my opinion, I think a lot of people will think the same. The best time to buy will be kind of coming into this weekend. Then the season starts next week. And unfortunately, when it comes to the last couple of days before the game's actually starting, when the lineups lock on the Friday, people will be panic buying, prices will start to go up because people will need 1 or 2 players just to fill out their teams. So I think if you're going to pick any up on auction, make sure you're picking them up at midnight because that is always a great time to buy cards. And also start planning your team now and then start picking them up from Saturday through to Monday, Tuesday before they slightly go up again. And then from there, we'll obviously see, as we did in the Champion and all the other markets, probably a steady decline as the season progresses. But if you want to be one of those first people in the prize pools, then you're going to be coming up against a lot less people than you will later on in the season when prices become more affordable for people. So definitely now is a good time to enter if you think you're going to keep them for the whole season, if you're going to build collections and you really feel like you can target those high cash rewards in the first game week. One thing I mentioned earlier is that you're only allowed 1 classic card in the competition, and that is only for the main leaderboards. That does not count towards Hot Streak if you have 1 classic card. You do require 5 in-season cards. But the best thing about this is if you don't want to focus on hot streaks, you can pick up that classic card, and if you want to pick up one of the absolute top players, you can pick up a Messi for around £38, which is almost about a fifth of the current price that he is now. So depending on what you really want to focus on, really have a look at the classic cards because they always have utility, especially with being able to play at least 1. So once you've figured out a budget, once you know what you want to target, you want to start looking at players and who you want to pick up. If you're like me and don't have an absolute clue about MLS, I mean, I've watched some games here and there, but they're very late. I'm from the UK and it makes it difficult. Sorare Data is always a great place to start, and I'll be showing you another place later on where you can start scouting. So moving into the Sorare Data, I've just put some basic parameters. So I've been looking at goalkeeper, MLS obviously, and then I've been looking at last 15 of an average score of 50 or above, and I want to make sure they're playing at least 50% of the games. So if we look at the first player here, Christian Kalina, personally I think he's probably going to be one of the most expensive. If you look at limited sales, I mean the 101 sold for £168, but the rest of them are already down to £82. If you look at his last scores, he had some absolutely insane scores for, I believe it's Charlotte he plays for. He does play. That would be embarrassing if I got it wrong off the bat. So he is definitely one of the top keepers that you will be looking at if you really want to target those high price points. He's got clean sheets all over the place and makes decent saves, and is definitely a keeper that you want to focus on. Once you've then looked at the players like your goalkeeper, I would always go over to the MLS website just to look at some additional stats. It's always good to know how they've scored on Sorare. But if you want to actually look at more in depth on the stats, we can see here, I've already pre-filtered this, so 2024 season, this is last season. We're going to look at the goalkeepers, and I've filtered it by clean sheets. So as you can see, Kalina is one of the best goalkeepers last year for keeping clean sheet with Lloris and Free. And then if you want to look at the minutes to make sure you actually have a goalkeeper that's actually playing all the time, he is also quite high on that. He's actually top, joint with another goalkeeper. So for me, he is probably the most sought after goalkeeper and is one of the ones that I am going to be looking at. Unfortunately for me, looking at the price graph of Rare, he is pretty high. The 101 sold for 343 and the next auction was 336, so I can't see him coming down that much, but that is a great first goalkeeper choice. So these wouldn't exactly be my suggestions. These are quite expensive in terms of price points, but the other top goalkeepers you have are Zach McMath, Brad Stuver, and then Galise, and then Fry, as we saw earlier. There's so many goalkeepers, you've got 30 goalkeepers, but really focus on one that has consistent playing time. You don't want that DMP, no one wants that, it ruins your lineup and it gets you relegated. But this is a great place to start with some of the best goalkeepers that you know are going to consistently get you some high scores because they play for the higher, better teams. Moving into the defenders, we have some of the best ones yet again. This time I filtered it by a last 15 average of 60 points. So at the top we have Carlos Garces, we have Kai Wagner, who everyone knows, he's a Sorare legend, always been one of the top performing players. Jordi Alba, obviously, since his move from Barcelona, has been smashing it into Miami with Messi. And then you just have loads of other players. I mean, if we look at the top players, in my opinion, Jordi Alba is one of the top players. Looking at the price point, yesterday going for about, I can't remember how much, so £92 for the first one. And then after, £70. Obviously, as I said, these are the top players. They're going to command a higher cost. Even in Rare, £200 and £203. I still think they're affordable, but I think they're going to come down to a more manageable price point. You know, you could look at building a squad for about £1,000, but do you think you're going to get that back in the season? Then in Rare, in particular, that is the decision that you have to make, and you have to really be smart about which players you want to pick up. So moving into some of the best midfielders, we have Ricky, unfortunately out injured at the moment, but his L5 of a 90, L15 of 86, and L40 of a 76. That is a player that should not be in the MLS and is probably well too good for the competition. We then have some of the standard players that are always smashing it in Haney Mukhtar, a great L15 and a great last 5. And then obviously Carlos Hill, always been one of the top players from a Sorare aspect. Looking at Mukhtar's price point, once again, we're starting limited. As you can see, people are picking him up for around £55 to £60, even up to the £63 price point. So this is definitely an affordable midfielder if you're going for the top end players. And then if we look at the Rare, not too bad, £232. I mean, this instant buy. Why people buy on instant buy, I'll never understand. Just wait for an auction, just bid. If you're going to bid this much, you may as well just bid to the instant buy and then just see how that goes and then buy the instant buy. There is absolutely no point buying instant buys, but that is the great thing about Sorare. Newcomers love to spend loads of money and it's great because it funds our prize pools, so I'm not complaining at all. We then move into some of the best players and some of my favourite players up top. Lionel Messi, everyone wants a Lionel Messi card. I can't remember how much the Rare went for, but oh my god, it was a lot for a 37-year-old who probably won't be playing all the time since he doesn't like artificial grass, but £1,122 is actually mental, but fair play. Sorare are going to be lining their pockets. Even the limited going for £408, but obviously down to £217 as we mentioned. There's also a couple of great options. I mean, they're not even half of them are here for great options of forwards. A lot of players have moved over, but currently Gabriel Peck had a great season last year and is one of the highest kind of price points of the MLS forwards. Benteke, Suarez, even Cedric, who plays for a bottom team in St. Louis, but still has had some great scores recently. So finally, guys, I wanted to show you my final source that I use for my information when scouting. Twitter is so useful. You can type your club in there into the search bar and you can see what's going on with the players, injuries, incomings and outgoings. One of the best accounts that I follow is NCFSorare Scout. If you're not following him already, then you definitely should. He gives some great data. He's been putting out daily a kind of data on a different team every day. As you can see here, New York City Football Club. Some great analytics, great information on who's been coming in and who's been coming out. And there's also other people, you know, Duncan Disorderly is a guy that's been helping me with Pick My Teams. So definitely use them as a source of data to help build your MLS team. So guys, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it if you made it to the end of the video. Let me know if you're going to be getting involved in the MLS competition. I'm also so interested in when you're going to pick up your players. If there's certain players you're interested in, drop them down below in the comments. I'm always interested to see you guys have your eyes on, because I may have a look at them myself. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button. If you want to watch more of my content, also subscribe, and I'll see you later on this week.